Hi, and welcome back to FreightWaves. My name's Kevin Hill. I'm the executive publisher here at FreightWaves, and we're going to talk about delivering everything under the sun with drones here with Bobby Healy, the founder and CEO of Mana Drone Delivery. How are you doing today,
Bobby? I'm doing great, Kevin. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here, actually. I'm from Ireland, as you can probably hear, and it's very, very sunny here today, so especially happy.
That's fantastic. Yes, directly from Dublin, Ireland. And you kind of describe yourself as a complete tech guy. You founded and sold a couple of companies in the past, and then you started Mana. Can you give us a brief introduction on yourself and Mana?
Yeah, so I'm a programmer, software guy, a very old one at this stage, but I started my career in video games, building games for Nintendo. A ton of games there, and then since then I've been building teams and companies, buying and selling them, up to 3 years ago. Mostly, my last companies were in travel technology, and this was the first one in as mad a space as drone delivery. I've been building this business for 3 years, founded it 3 years ago, and we're now about 45 people in the company between the UK and Ireland, and we just actually hired our head of USA a couple of months ago, Andrew Patton, and we've been doing great. We're live here in Ireland, commercially live. It's real, like it's not kind of some stunt. We're live, making money, or charging money, losing a lot of money, but charging money. So we're revenue generating, delivering to a town of just over 10,000 people. And we've raised, I'm glad to announce, just yesterday, Thursday, our Series A, $25 million Series A round to really get us going and to allow us to scale the business in the US and in Europe.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit about the Series A and maybe a step back even of what really inspired you to start Mana, to get into the drone business, and kind of that evolution now that you've closed a Series A, as you said, $25 million. What's that journey been like?
Yeah, so the concept was at the very start. Look, there's a kind of a confluence of various technologies that make it viable to carry parcels with robots in the air, between battery technology, MEMS technology, various other different technologies, all kind of maturing around the same time. AI as well. I mean, we use computer vision for certain parts of things, and to be able to do that in a lightweight, power efficient way in a flying payload, machine and carry cargo, all of that only makes sense in the last few years. And I'm a techie, and so I can plot a path to getting that done and built. And then if you then think about it, I live in a suburb of Dublin, right? So Dublin's a small town by American standards, like 1.5 million people. And I'm about 5 miles outside of the city centre of Dublin, but there's no delivery available to me. So there's no Uber Eats don't deliver to my house. None of the big platform providers deliver to my house, and I'm in a suburb of 40,000 people. And if you kind of just pull that thread and you say, well, why not? And it's simple, because using people and cars and the road for delivery of low basket value products just isn't economically viable. It's a single digit margin enterprise, if not a negative margin enterprise, because in the United States, data point, it costs the big platforms between $6 and $9 to operate that last mile, to get that hamburger to you, right? $6 to $9. Mm-hmm. And in a basket value, average basket value of $20 to $30 total spend, it starts to get really difficult to make those economics work when instead of driving a mile, you need to drive 3 or 4 miles. And so you see in the US, in a suburb in the US, you're going to do best case 1.5 to 1.8 deliveries per hour for some of these platforms. So just economically very, very difficult to make it work. So I just married the two things together, right? The tech, which is difficult, and the industry, which is last mile, and particularly last mile for both fast food, which is kind of low basket value, unimportant, but also pharma and a highly critical lightweight, products. So we kind of say, then, well, why not just carry everything to everybody in suburban communities? Because in the end, people get in their cars and drive, some number of miles frequently when they don't, like, we can carry it right to their front lawn or to their rear lawn, or we've delivered on top of trampolines, on top of cars, so you name it. If it's a flat 2 meter or 2 yard diameter space that's inanimate, we can deliver product to it. So it's like, why isn't that a much better system than a CO2 producing car with a 3-ton vehicle with a 200-pound guy, eating some of your French fries on the way? It just seemed to be far better. And me and my team, it's not our first rodeo. We've built businesses before, so we said, look, we're also kind of old and wise now. As we say, we definitely say why not, but we also look carefully at what will not work. What is it? Why is this hard? Or is there anything to mean or to say that this will be impossible? And 3 years ago, I did the work, I did the research, I spent the time, and I could not see how it fails. And here we are, after raising 2 rounds of finance, and we're live delivering, over 100 deliveries a day, by far the world's biggest drone delivery trial. And it's the customers just normal to these people in town.
Yeah, so we're talking about drone delivery. Let's pop it up on screen and see an actual drone delivery from Manna.
Good idea. Just before we show the video, I'll just explain. You're going to see the aircraft arriving at the house, at the home. It'll hover at about 60 yards, altitude. Then it'll do a quick scan of the ground to make sure there's a safe place to deliver. It'll descend to about 25 yards. I'm translating on the fly here between metric. And then you'll see the doors open and the product lower down to the ground on a biodegradable thread. So over to the video.
Dinner is here. Dinner is served. Whoa! Give me my dinner. I can smell it. I can smell it. I can smell it. It's so good. Can you actually smell it? Dad, are you getting this? Look at it. Yeah, it looks like it's just falling. Yeah, no, it's like pushing down. 14 meters from the around now.
And I'll give you a thumbs up when you do that, okay? So you have to raise it to the primary.
That's great! That's slow! That drone is bigger than my back! Hold on. 2 seconds, sweetheart. Wait, good job, well done. Make it flies away. Now, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go! Let's go!
So that's a fantastic video, fantastic delivery. What exactly was that delivery of?
Yeah, so I don't know if you heard, but there was a little child there shouting, "Dinner is served," and it was actually dinner for 3 people. It was a restaurant called Camille Thai, a Thai restaurant, and it was meal for 2 adults and 1 7-year-old girl with ice cream afterwards. So it was a full cargo. It was about 2.5 kilos, so it was about 5 pounds of cargo.
Fantastic. So you're talking about economics a while ago, and you're talking about ground delivery, Uber or any of the, Uber Eats, any of the other, Dine and Dash, any of the other final mile food deliveries. You're talking about $6 to $9 per delivery. What's the unit economics on drones at like right now, and then final scale?
Yeah, right now they're we're it's kind of we're already cheaper than the existing road-based solutions, and the price we're charging consumers now for delivery is between $5 and $6, depending on the outlet that we're working with. So that's what the final price the consumers see. At scale, when we roll this out at scale, it'd be early 23 when we start to scale the business. Our fully loaded cost will be about $1 per delivery, and in that dollar is mostly depreciation on motors, wear and tear on motors, and depreciation on battery. And then in terms of the personnel numbers, one mana person can do 20 deliveries per hour. That's kind of the overhead that we think about. So it's one person operating multiple aircraft is able to do 20 deliveries per hour, and as compared to road-based delivery, one person roughly 2 deliveries per hour. So it's an order of magnitude better.
Is that kind of your business model? Is going to so whether it's food, right, going to the specific restaurant and offering your services? I know you just did a partnership with Samsung delivering Galaxies, right? Is it going directly and being that real logistics middle component from goods producer to final delivery? And is that kind of how you perceive rolling out and scaling up?
Yeah, so we operate from a central base in a town, and that we might have multiple bases in a town, but generally there'll be 1 or 2 bases, and one of them will be a dark store of non-perishable products, so Samsung, Apple, you name it, the non-perishable products that everybody needs frequently. And then the other center will be a bunch of perishable products, so think coffee, think burger and fries, think all of those things. So if you think about that, you get to about a 12 to 14 hour operation where basically you get your coffee in the morning, you get your meal at night, and you get your pharmacy and your convenience store all day long. Like we've delivered melons, we've delivered broccoli, we've delivered prescription medicine, we've delivered COVID test kits. We've literally delivered everything that the community could possibly need, and we know this because we're doing this and have been doing this through lockdown, and we've been delivering to families with COVID where literally everything that they get has come by drone, and it just works perfectly.
Yeah. So the pandemic has changed a lot of businesses, is kind of shifted focus, sometimes completely disrupted it. How has it affected drones? Has it kind of accelerated the trends that were already in place?
Where the pandemic has affected us, it's been very positive for the drone delivery industry, and only not because of an instant hit or an increase in business, but because the pandemic has changed the way everyone's thinking about anything, right? So minds are open now where minds weren't open before, and whereas prior to the pandemic, we know this because we've been surveying the whole time, we would have seen about a 60 to 70% positive rating for what we do. So in other words, if you ask the question of folks, what do they think of drone delivery, would they pay for drone delivery if it was available? 60-70% yes, and then a number of sitting on the fence, and then a number of detractors, about 10% detractors. Now, though, we see, and our latest survey is 98.5% positive, and then a tiny handful of detractors, really tiny. And what's driving that is simply people are willing to consider new technology that can bring advantages that weren't seen as advantages before. And what that means is human-free delivery, where there isn't someone arriving at your door that's touched your food or touched your merchandise, any of that stuff, and just a way to support people that are isolated. Like again, our first time we operated in, we had 50% of the population over the age of 65, and so exactly, wow, right? And a rural town in Ireland, drone delivery is for everyone, and you need a pandemic to open that discourse.
I think you've seen that throughout the supply chain too, and no one really wanted to be the first person out there or the first company out there experimenting with things, from work from home to digitization of certain things, of experimenting with going a little bit away from just-in-time manufacturing to e-commerce and delivery. It was necessity, right? That's what the pandemic has brought, and it's pulled forward all these trends and changes just because of necessity. And your survey numbers bear that out tremendously. It's just like everyone had to, out of necessity, change the way they thought about moving forward.
Yeah, correct. And they give it a go. They're willing to give it a go that they may not have been willing to do before. But also governments too. I mean, we did a partnership with the Health Service Executive, which is the kind of the public health service here in Ireland. And that's the biggest organisation in the country. It's like 350,000 employees. This is an organisation that does not change course quickly. And we got that deal done in 3 weeks, from start of lockdown to us being live delivering medicine in 3 weeks. So you're able to get things done because people are more inclined to just make decisions, whereas previously you could sit on this thing for years.
Now it's a necessity. It's you
Yeah.
have to do it right now, and everyone feels that
we're
pressure.
classified as an essential service in Ireland. We actually have legal classification, so even during lockdown we can work and we can travel and we can do all this stuff, so because we're an essential service.
Well, which kind of brings us to the next point, really, because we know in the States some of the barriers for drones have been really slow-footed regulatory issues, right? Not so much as regulatory or governments being against drones, but not knowing how to proceed. So I was just wondering, in Europe and Ireland and the EU, and the UK as well, right? What are the thoughts on regulatory issues when it comes to drones?
Yeah, and that's the big difference. The reason our base isn't in the United States is because of that uncertainty on timeline. But it is clearing up, and I think the US is catching up in a regulatory sense to the rest of the world. Europe is way ahead of the rest of the world, and we've ratified legislation now that goes into law on the 1st of January 23, and we have our European-wide license. We can go anywhere we want with a pervasive autonomous drone delivery network in Europe once we're ready to scale, which is started 23. If you ask that question in the United States, and the FAA are doing a great job, but there's companies over there, and I'd name Alphabet as a particularly good one with their Wing drone delivery program, that have a superb product and a great mission, and obviously a very talented bunch, but they're held in regulatory purgatory waiting for the go-ahead. But we're just going to go ahead and go live here in Europe, and when the USA is ready for that, we'll start to launch there. But there's no rush for us to go into the US because it's just uncertain.
Yeah, and it is, right? So I think the US is starting to actually move. There was this period where they didn't really have to move, but now they do, and we're talking about delivering everything with drones. So that always brings me to the payload question and kind of where the technology is going when it comes to payload. I know, vaccine, lightweight food orders are really great for drones right now. How much is the payload going to increase over time, or what are your expectations for that?
No, actually, the limitation on payload is volume, not really weight. So
Okay.
our aircraft now, we've designed our current aircraft specifically for the use case of medicine, lightweight medicine, and takeaway food, which kind of have a big overlap. So we can carry 3 kilos, 6.5 pounds of cargo, and 20,000 cubic centimeters. So think very large, deep shoebox kind of thing, or McDonald's for 5 or 6 people. Think of it that way. An aircraft is just a formula, right? And it's a calculation of how much energy you need to fly that aircraft, across whatever distance in whatever wind speed. So we've chosen a particular flight envelope by distance, capable wind speed and cargo that works for us, and we have an 850 watt hour battery to do that. We can double the size of that aircraft with literally a flick of the switch with no real new design. You increase the props, the motor sizes, and the battery, and we could carry 4 times as much cargo. It's literally that simple. And the equation then just yields you, look, this is the cost per flight. So instead of being whatever 20 cents of battery depreciation per flight, you might go up to $1 of battery depreciation per flight, but it's still something that works. The reason we've chosen where we are, though, is high volume. There's 82 million single family detached homes in the United States. Those are our customers. And what do they need? High frequency, high volume. It's It's coffee and donuts, coffee and a cake in the morning. It's lunch, sandwiches. It's takeaway food at night or the evenings. So we want a high frequency, high utilization early days, and then we'll expand across all the different use cases. Literally everything that you're going to need will be within reach in less than 5 minutes with our network, and that's kind of our long-term plan. And then we're given our local bookseller in the town that we operate in Ireland has a better product already than Amazon have in that town. Like, this local bookseller gets to customers in 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah. So being based in Dublin, Ireland, we were talking about engineering, and it's all about weight and wind speed and energy. Does the wind speed in Dublin and Ireland in general kind of give you a great insight into the engineering process of that? Because it's going to be windier there than most places, right?
And we'll just show a picture here of the town that we're operating in. It's called Galway. A lot of people have heard of it. It's right on the west coast of Ireland, so you could not pick a worse place to fly a small aircraft. So it's raining every day, horrible winds that you're sending over from the United States to us, but it is awful there. So we know that by being able to fly there, and all of the work we're doing there essentially means that for 99% of the weather in North America, we don't have an issue. We've already tested for.
So, Bobby, drones is just an exciting topic right now. You just closed your Series A, and also you have a partnership with Samsung to deliver phones. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, I mean, most people forget this, but Samsung are by far the biggest phone manufacturer in the world, 47% of the world's market. And like any big brand, they want to understand what direct-to-consumer looks like. How are they going to distribute their product in the future? And one remarkably obvious way, to me anyway, maybe not to the rest of the world, is it should be direct-to-consumer by phone, because most consumer electronics or products that are non-perishable products that are bought on impulse, and that impulse is unfortunately the reason most people don't buy products as well, because if you need it delivered, people aren't willing to wait a day, let alone half a day. So if you can get the product in a few minutes, and we did also deal with Unilever, the Ben and Jerry's brand, same thing. It's kind of that opportunity is there in a split second, and if you can get the consumer that product within 3 to 5 minutes into their hand, then that changes the nature of demand. So that's why those big brands are looking at drone delivery.
Yeah, so it sounds like Mana's doing really well. The Series A close. How does the audience reach out and contact you, and kind of what are you thinking going forward?
Well, I would love the audience to follow on Twitter. Real Bobby Healy or Mana Aero on Twitter. That's the best way to get really live updates on us. Or otherwise, just connect on LinkedIn. I'm very happy to chat, to answer questions that your audience may have, or just to engage in general chat about the future last mile.
Thank you so much for your time today, Bobby. It's been a great discussion, great B-roll, great video that our audience is going to enjoy here. And stick with us for the next fireside chat here at DroneWaves.